Top drama that. I do enjoy it. More from Sloggers, more from the cricket pitch next Thursday at the same time on Children's BBC. Are you one of those completely mad aardvark anoraks or aardvark maniacs? Well, Catherine, don't know your surname, Catherine, but she writes in from Peterborough, has got just a thing for you. It's the cruise of the aardvark. Check out, it's got the pictures in it. It's got a whole story, but it doesn't stop there. She goes on. She gets a little bit cheeky now. She says, as I've started asking for things, because she asked for, what was it, Children's BBC jacket. She also wants a T-shirt, a Children's BBC pen, and anything else you might like to send us. Well, Catherine, thanks for sending us the book, but we don't just give things out willy-nilly, you know. We can't afford it on our budget. You've got to enter the old competitions, a bit like the Broom Cupboard design competition, which has now finished. However, I think this is a bit of a beaut, actually. We're picking the winner tomorrow. So hot news there. But Samantha Wolfe lives in Thundersley, which I think is a great name for a place. Thundersley in Essex. She's aged 8.5, and she's designed it, the Broom Cupboard, with a window, so we can basically be wherever we like. I could be there, or I could be in Paris. So thanks for sending that in. Blue Peter's coming up after Newsround with Juliet.
Ready for kick-off, Terry Venables is set to be the new England manager. And the Prince of Wales continues with his Australian tour, but security is stepped up. Hello, 2 months of waiting are almost at an end for England's football fans. Terry Venables is expected to be announced as the new England manager within the next 24 hours. His appointment comes as no surprise. He's been widely tipped for the job. The last manager, Graham Taylor, resigned in November after England were knocked out of the World Cup qualifying rounds. For Newsround, Kate Chacksfield reports.
Many people think Terry Venables is ideal for the job.
Gilzina Venables. Oh, that was...
He was a talented player himself and the only person ever to represent his country at all levels, from schoolboy to the full England team.
And that'll be Venables to take the kick.
He began playing for Chelsea when he was 17, moving on to Tottenham Hotspur, Crystal Palace and Queen's Park Rangers before becoming a coach and then a manager. One of his greatest successes was when he worked abroad, managing the giant Spanish team Barcelona. The team were doing badly when he joined in 1984. He learned the language,
Visca el Barça.
Soon sorted things out, and in 1985, the club won the Spanish League. 2 years later, he returned to Britain to manage Tottenham Hotspur, where he later became chief executive. Suddenly last summer, he was sacked. There were claims he'd used money that wasn't his to buy a share of Spurs.
Okay.
Fans gathered to support him. The Football Association launched an inquiry. Terry Venables says the FA and the police have now decided he didn't do anything wrong. That means the FA will, at last, be able to announce that they've chosen him as the new England manager. It's now hoped Venables can lead the team to victory in the European Championship being held in England in 2 years' time, and that England will come back winners from the next World Cup in 1998.
Security surrounding the Prince of Wales has been stepped up after yesterday's shooting incident in which 2 blank shots were fired at the Prince. Extra police have been drafted in to prevent more trouble. Prince Charles is on an official visit to Australia. The attack happened in Sydney just before the Prince was due to make a speech. Today, student David Kang appeared in court charged with firing the pistol. Despite yesterday's incident, the royal tour goes on. Today, the Prince travelled into the Australian bush. Although security has been tightened, Prince Charles was still able to get close to those who'd turned out to meet him. Many were shocked at what had happened.
I think it was dreadful, wasn't it? Yes, it was a real shame. Somebody had to go and spoil things.
I feel it was rather disappointment. You know, we're not like that in this country.
Australia's Prime Minister, Paul Keating, also said he was very angry.
I was appalled by it. Prince Charles is a good friend of this country and deserves to be treated as a good friend of this country.
Back in Sydney, 23-year-old David Kang appeared in court. It's claimed he fired the blanks to draw attention to the plight of a group of refugees from the country of Cambodia who are being housed in camps in Australia. His punishment hasn't yet been decided. In Scotland, gale force winds have been causing chaos. Gusts of over 70 miles an hour have been damaging houses and roads have now been blocked by snow. In Glasgow, a portable office was blown off the back of a lorry. The vehicle was crossing the main Kingston Bridge in the city when the office was swept into the river below. 2 other lorries were also blown onto their sides. In other parts of the city, walls were blown down and chimneys damaged. 3 children are being treated in hospital after a chemical spill at their school in Essex. The accident happened at Pear Tree Meads School in Harlow. Fire crews were called out at 8:30 this morning. The spillage was caused by vandals who'd broken into the building and left chemicals over a floor. Poisonous fumes were given off. The children who were taken to hospital suffered from sore throats and eyes. Their condition is not said to be serious. The school was evacuated and closed for the day while firefighters in special protective clothing cleaned up the mess. Now with news of this week's Newsround Extra, here's Paul.
This week, Newsround Extra reports from Thailand, from a special hospital set up to help elephants, which have suffered appallingly. Logging was banned in Thailand 5 years ago because too much forest was being lost. But illegal logging has taken its place, and hundreds of elephants are being mistreated and even drugged in secret logging operations. At the hospital, a steady stream of victims are being treated by overworked vets. In the jungle around the hospital, crippled animals live out the rest of their lives as best they can. Join us tomorrow as Newsround Extra investigates the suffering of Thailand's working elephants and asks what the future holds for them.
So don't forget, Newsround Extra at 5 to 5 tomorrow. And finally today, there's an unusual surfer in Australia who's really pulling in the crowds. Buffy the surfing bunny is a natural on the water and recently showed off his talent at Manly Beach in Sydney. Buffy's owner says his pet rabbit enjoys his life.